I think I've had this channel since I was about 18 years old, or 19, and one thing that I've always stuck to my guns about, and that is pulling apart this migrant narrative, this migrant crisis narrative. I mean, gone are the days where it was Syrian children and women that we were supposedly seeing coming over. God forbid that we ever do see any Syrian women and children. No. It's just a never-ending trickle of African men on dinghies, time after time after time, and they either get rescued, quote unquote, or they get picked up by the Libyan Coast Guard and taken back to Libya. Which, if everybody took that sort of approach, the migrant crisis would die a death pretty swiftly. Who's going to jump on a dinghy and head towards Europe only to be caught and taken right back to where you started again? You'd get bored pretty quickly and they'd go back to doing what they were doing before they decided to take that journey. Fuck all. So Malta has denounced for helping Libyan Coast Guard intercept migrants and return them to Libya. God forbid, because Malta's been one of the countries that's been swamped by these people en masse. They just turn up on boats with the NGOs and they're expected to be treated the same way as a refugee. These NGOs do not need to take them back to Europe. They're exploiting maritime law. Just because you quote unquote rescue them, you don't need to take them back to Europe, but they continuously do so. Who the fuck are they? Like, who the fuck do they think they are? It's getting preposterous at this point. Safe, legal and orderly migration. I mean, look at them. What part of Syria are they from? Remind me again, unless they're all a bunch of transgenders, I don't see any women there. I see a bunch of African men, young men, round about my age, maybe older, maybe younger. What the fuck are they doing with their lives? Nothing. And yet, we need to rescue them. We need to take them in here. I'm sorry. Really? Really? I mean, how many years is this going to go on for? Until Africa's empty? Because the more that catch wind that they can jump on a boat and do exactly what these people are doing, the more the merrier. They're all going to do it. And why wouldn't they? I'd do the same if I was from there. But that's the point. It needs to be prevented in order to stop it. But it anything but, clearly. So anyway, Malta stands accused by NGO vessel Marie Jonio of helping the Libyan Coast Guard locate and pick up some 100 migrants out at sea for return to Libya. Oh, God forbid they do that. Oh, now you're in trouble with the NGOs. Whatever will you do? The migrants appear to have been intercepted by the Coast Guard some 15 nautical miles away from Malta's search and rescue with the help of a Maltese military aircraft. The boat was heading towards Lampedusa. The boat was just heading there, you know, and if nobody picked them up, they would rock up on the shoreline and enter Europe illegally. But hell, the NGOs are always there to save the day normally. Bit short off the mark this time round though. It was the Mari Jonio's captain who raised the alarm, accusing the Maltese authorities of repatriating the migrants to an unsafe port in Libya. And this is the excuse to keep throwing about now, that it's an unsafe port at Libya. Why don't you just not dump them at that port then? Why don't you just dump them elsewhere? They don't need to be taken to Europe though. They're not refugees for one. They're a bunch of fighting age men running away from F all for the most part. I don't hand me the excuses that they're fleeing the conflict in Libya, because what was the excuse before the conflict in Libya started up again? Right? Oh, they're wanting a better life, a better education. Okay, what was it before that then? Oh, they weren't African back then. They were just Syrian refugee women and children. Were they aye? Were they aye? It was the captain who... sorry, I read that. Bepi Cassia, head of the mission on Mare Jonio, a vessel belonging to an NGO group, was quoted by Italian news outlet La Repubblica saying that it was a Maltese military plane that guided the Libyan Coast Guard vessel to the migrant boat. The Jonio had informed the Rescue Coordination Centre in Rome it was ready to intervene, but told to stay out because the Libyan Navy was on its way. We denounced this repatriation to an unsafe port where human rights are not respected. This was a grave violation of human rights and international conventions. And while you talk of international laws and rights and so on and so forth, let's not distract from the fact that you are blatantly taking the piss out of maritime laws by continuously picking these people up whenever you get a chance and taking them over here. That's not within the rule. That's not within the rule book as far as I'm aware. Even if it is now, can't help but wonder to myself why that was conveniently added in if it was, but to my knowledge it's not. There's nothing that says they need to be taken here. Rescue them by all means, but they don't need to come back here. And second of all, even coming away with that pandering progressive BS or you're all about human rights, it's a violation of their human rights, etc., etc. That's just giving out the green light, the signal that they know as long as you're on the prowl on your boat, they will be fine as long as they bang into you and not the Libyan Coast Guard. But hey ho. Mediterranean was called for humanitarian corridors to be created that would allow migrants escaping war and oppression to reach Europe safely. Why can't they go fucking elsewhere bar Europe? Why do they all come to Europe? Well, I thought Europe was full of far right white supremacists. I thought our countries were all systemically racist. I thought racial inequality was a prevalent problem. Well, are they not going to be oppressed when they come here? Why would Africans want to live alongside whitey when whitey is supposedly the reason that they are in the mess they're in? It does beg belief. Nonetheless, a line has been drawn, a line has been crossed, and yet here we are, fuck knows how many years later, and this BS charade is still going on. This so-called fake crisis that's anything but continues to show itself up for what it is. NGOs calling the shots, and Europeans pretending that they give a fuck. This appears to be the second migrant boat rescued by the Libyan Coast Guard in the space of few hours. Rescued, aye. On its Twitter feed, the Libyan Coast Guard said it rescued. Stop saying rescued. You picked them up, you met them, you intercepted them, you didn't rescue them. The boat wasn't toppled. It wasn't ricketing about in a storm. They didn't have, you know what I mean? It's not like they were all clinging on to dear life, treading in water, being circled by sharks or so on. No, none of that was happening. They were coming over here quite the thing, with one thing on their mind, entering Europe illegally, hoping that Baldy from up above would bang into them and not the Libyan Coast Guard. Libya is currently gripped in civil strife. That's irrelevant because this was going on before that. The UN does not consider Libya a safe haven and has warned against sending migrants back to the country where they risk abuse and degrading treatment. Okay, that's fantastic. Sad as it may very well be, at the end of the day, that again sends the green light, that sends the signal that anybody that decides to take it upon themselves to leave Libya knows full well they can't be sent back. Thanks to the UN saying what they just said there. It's a fucking sham, man. Absolute sham.